But I want to get back to what I spoke about earlier here, and you've written a fantastic investigation about another Chinese national, researcher from Wuhan, who has been charged for allegedly smuggling biological materials into the U.S. How worried should we be about this? Walk us through the charges, and there's a bit of a disturbing pattern that's emerging around China and some of the things they're finding in people from China in their luggage.
Right. So as we've seen the front lines of the border quiet down, I think we're starting to see this emerging trend, which we've learned about 3 such incidents in the last few weeks, about Chinese researchers that are bringing in biological hazards into the United States, or at least trying to do so at our airports. Specifically, a couple of incidents have happened in Michigan. These Chinese researchers have flown in and they've lied. There was one individual who lied about what they were doing. They had sent numerous packages to the University of Michigan for a number of years with biohazards in petri dishes, and they lied about the contents of those. And they also tried to apply for status in the United States. They tried to apply for 2 different visas, 2 different times. And they were denied because during the interviews with federal officers, they could not speak proper English. And then come to find out, this person then tries to get into the United States again, flying into Michigan, and is found again. She lies to federal officers. They eventually get her to admit that she's carrying these hazardous materials with her. And this isn't the first time we've heard about this. We just had that couple, like you said before, that was bringing in these biological materials that would have basically threatened the crops in the United States. So it could be another form of warfare, another threat to society that isn't so overt, but it's very covert, in fact, and is happening kind of under the radar. And I think maybe this is just them testing the waters, but it's certainly alarming to see that we've learned about just a few incidents in a few weeks.
Well, it is fascinating to me because I think this is where it all sort of comes together, because you look at these stories and you look at the fact that the South China Morning Post has revealed that the Chinese government, their propaganda arms, are now pushing the story that the riots in L.A. are showing the breakdown of society in the United States, while at the same time, one of the groups, the Socialist Liberation Party in L.A., seems to have some sort of affinity with the Chinese Communist Party, has been reported to have some ties, and has talked about how wonderful the Chinese Communist regime is. Am I being paranoid seeing that there could be more of sort of a pattern here where the things that look like America is kind of breaking down and not doing well play into their hand, while also there could be some other effort to also undermine industry or agriculture?
Right. Well, we know that the Chinese Communist Party is great at propaganda. That's what they do. We saw under COVID, that was one of the reasons that we had lockdowns. We saw these images and videos from Wuhan, China, early on in the pandemic, before it really reached our shores, or to our knowledge had reached our shores, showing people just falling into the streets, just passing out, just dying in the streets. We saw piles of bodies in hospital hallways. And we thought, oh my gosh, this is coming to our shores soon, so we better lock down. That was Chinese propaganda at work, because we saw that's not what happened in the United States. Of course, there was a horrible pandemic, and we did see overwhelming numbers of patients in our hospitals, but we did not see people just dropping in the streets like the Chinese government was putting out there. Again, the Chinese government is really savvy at this, and they like to sow discord within the United States and with our political landscape, and they like to influence our elections. So this is no surprise that they're coming in here. But we already have members of Congress in the Democratic Party who also share lies about what's going on, who are also saying things like ICE is going into emergency rooms, and they're going into childcare centers, and they're raiding anywhere they can indiscriminately right now. There's also that element. You have multiple different areas that are sharing lies, that are sharing conspiracy theories, that are sharing flat out untruths.
Jennie Taer, it's scary stuff, and it's a great analogy to COVID. We've got to wake up and learn our lesson from that. Jennie Taer, thank you so much for joining me and for your great work.